Got my notes here. Got my coffee with the pink lid, North End Tacoma. If you know, you know. Welcome back. Welcome again to another installment of the Open Edition commentary with your boy, Jared Havland. I'm excited to talk about my latest writing article, and that's the micro, and the macro level observations and things that are happening in the world right now in regard to like us as human beings and cultural shifts and whatnot. I just put out this writing this last week. It's a piece. I kind of already put this out under a different title, but it went back through, revised, kind of expanded on it, and integrated some of these larger concepts and ideas into it. So this is kind of like a version 2.0 sort of, but this has been an evolving subject in my life because it's unfolding currently in my own life. I want you to go ahead, if you haven't taken the opportunity yet, I've got links in this video below to the Substack piece that I put up. It's called A Summer of Leisure. I wanted to subtitle it something along the lines of like, we're moving on from Pharaoh's brick building and letting it go, or something like that. Just because, again, I'm a man of faith, and the Word of God is so relevant in my life. And so I found that concept to be very accurate, timely in my own experience. And Anyway, go check that writing out. Go check that piece out. It gives you a little more context and idea to what it is I'm going to be speaking about in this commentary that you're observing, that I'm doing right now. There's 5 kind of key points that I want to touch on that will walk us through that writing, because you're going to see it inside of that piece. Again, I'm not a writer. I don't consider myself a writer, but I am a person, an artist. I'm a very deep individual, and I have a lot of thoughts and abstract thinking and just all sorts of things going on, tons of observations and whatnot. And so, like I said, I don't consider myself a writer, but I write a lot. I have been practicing journaling for many, many, many years, and I'm glad that I have that to share with my future self, with my future family, and others who are interested in who I am as an individual, and for the people that care about me and the future generations to come, my grandchildren, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm glad I have that. But I cannot just utilize artwork. I cannot just utilize music or other platforms to share my experience. Writing was just going to be another one of those things that it's just another tool to share thought. And so I've moved over into using that as a way to help others connect with me as the individual, as the artist, as the person, and then also as a way for me to share conceptual thinking with others. And so I started a Substack in the last month or two, and I've put out a few different pieces, just writings that I've been doing, et cetera, et cetera. I like to speak from the first person in how I share my concepts. I do like to tell a story. I'm very descriptive, but this piece is more story form, but it's got these 5 kind of insights wrapped up in it. This year for me has been a very formative year, a transformative year, and a transition year. And what I mean by that is the last decade of my life, well, more than last decade, but it's been hyper present in the last decade. I helped build a company from the ground up, a production manufacturing company. And it was a balls to the wall kind of situation. We had deep pockets. We had a lot of great ideas and a market for it. And a lot of experience between everybody. So with that, I began becoming hyper aware of my way of being around that. What helped me become hyper aware of that was that I really began to transition out of graffiti 2014, so about 11 years now. I really started transitioning out of graffiti into contemporary artwork. Now, when we're speaking on graffiti itself, graffiti is very much a production mentality form of artwork. It's about getting your name up as much as possible in as many places as possible. Numbers, 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 numbers. It's a more and more and more kind of game. So those worlds aligned, working in manufacturing and production is the same kind of mentality, and you overlay it into graffiti world. Now, when I began to transition into contemporary art, painting, doing sculpture, reframing my being to more of the artistic form of life, there was a lot of really challenging things that I was experiencing in my person, in my being. And so in the writing, I share about my last year, which was 2024. We're 2025 now, middle of the year. We're in the middle of July. I'd been just going this last year, and it was last year, 2024, extremely successful extremely successful year for me on paper. And I got to the end of it. I didn't even get to the end of the year. It was like October. My last showing was in October. The last kind of thing on the books for me was in October. My rhythm as an artist, as a person every year is to slow down in November, focus on my family, kind of do the whole like cocoon phase thing. Like it matches the year. I love fires in the winter and watching old movies and enjoying my family in the holidays and, you know, church and all the things of life. And I just like being present. So October was my last thing. And I was like, I'm done. I'm cashing out. I'm not putting anything on the books for 2025. I just need to be present kind of deal, right? So I stepped back and I was like, really had this thing resting on my heart of leisure. For all these last years of working, I've just been working and working and working, and my child's been growing up and my family, and I'm just working and working and working. And I lost this ability to relax, let go, rest, have leisure. kick back. And so it was really resting on my heart. I had to learn to play. And going through last winter and into this year, I was really resting into it. And I share a lot of pieces about that where I'm learning about me. And I'm learning about what I want my future life to look like. I kind of had some, like, they weren't awakenings, but these revelations were brought back around to me. And again, I share this in the writing where I had an experience working in Cabo tons of years ago that showed me this in a different culture, in a different place. Contrast creates clarity. So I came back to this again, and I saw it so clear. But I saw it even bigger on this macro level kind of deal. Again, right now, we're in the middle of July 2025. In the art world right now, on the macro, there is massive shaking in the art world economy right now that is crazy to watch. Major gallerists, galleries, owners of galleries are just calling it quits and shutting down shop. And it's really, really crazy. Yeah, Blum Gallery for one, like in LA was like a big one. And I read in his interview, he was interviewed, and he talked a lot about his life as an individual, his mindsets, his life in transition, the different kind of pieces. And underneath it all was this same thread, same revelation, same thing that I keep coming back to that I've been living out this very year. And that is that our world as an American, I'm only speaking as an American, culturally as an American, this hyper-capitalistic, hyper-consumerism machine, this system that we live in, it is an autonomous, spiritually autonomous machine of its own. And what it does is it just feeds. It just walks around grazing and feeding on everything. And it needs to continue to feed. But it has diminishing returns because the more that it eats, the more it's empty and it feels like it needs to eat more. It's kind of, for me, as a former drug addict, like I think about doing like a bunch of coke. Like, yeah, the first couple lines are cool. You're like, oh, I'm high as balls. Like, let's keep this party going. But for those who know that the more that you just keep shoveling through lines, the diminishing returns keep growing more and more. You're not high. You're just basically continuing to put off getting dope sick. You know what I mean? And so the more and more you seek, the more and more empty you feel. And that's kind of what the machine is like. This produce more, go faster, time is lack, do, go. This thing is like, it's empty. And everybody that kind of ends up in that machine feeding it, people who work in production fields like mine and a lot of these different things, it's more and more, and you just feel emptier and emptier. The people that are incentivized the most are obviously the people that help feed the machine, the owners, the entrepreneurs, all these other people that are like in the leadership positions. But again, they eventually end up feeling very empty too, where they want to sell their companies and move on and turn it over to somebody else. But for me, And that's not to say that I disagree with capitalism or consumerism. I'm just saying it's an observation that I've discovered. For me as a person, something I very much am and I do is being an artist and creating art. And through this last decade of just really focusing on creating artwork, I've been studying all the art, all this stuff, right? And I've just been coming around to this idea of beingness as an artist. Who am I? Where am I the most inspired? Where am I the most? When am I the greatest channel for work? What is my internal state? My beingness, where do I have to be in that to be able to allow God to flow through me to create these works? And I've found that these two ways of being, this production person, this art person, those energies are absolutely incongruent. And it was mind-blowing for me to discover that. There was nothing about doing more, pushing more, doing more paintings, doing more sculptures, doing more work, that's the wrong energy to be in to create works of art, whether they're great or whether they're crap, whatever. As an artist, I'm just creating. And so I need to be in that space. And it really is a discovery. And the first key point was that success doesn't exactly equal fulfillment. And success in our world, as an American capitalist consumerism world, success is framed around that idea of more things, more experiences, more this, more that, more. Result, circumstance. And it doesn't necessarily equal that. And so I just found that one of the most mind-blowing revelations. And I had experienced this before in the past. Now, how that fits into this major art world thing is the business of art is just a larger macro scale of that. The beingness of art is experiential, it's whimsical, it's based on exploration and discovery. It's not a game of more. And so I think what I've noticed for sure is that it is the art world, the business of the art world, like kept molding itself to the algorithm of that kind of culture, that consumerism culture, that capitalist culture, that business culture, that system culture. And it was never meant to be that way, I don't think. And it's not a corporation. Artists aren't corporations. Artists they're not that. It's relational, it's connection. And so I've seen reflections of what it's gonna become in different things. I think one place that's kind of doing it kind of cool, and if you go check out their work, especially their Instagram, is a good way to see how they've shifted this in the recent history, is Eden, formerly Eden Fine Art Gallery in New York and Saint-Tropez and other places, right? Eden is now Eden House of Art. They went through a recent rebrand. And what they're doing is really, really cool. It's an immersive cohesion of people, of artists and collector relationships and gallery, house of art relationship. It's all really artist focused, and it's not work, production piece, sales, transaction focused. It's really fascinating. I think that's really what we're cycling back to. It's real relational, it's real connection. And so they are one entity that's, I think, kind of what you're going to end up seeing more and more of. I also think that the people in the art world, but this goes bigger than just the art world, this is all worlds, is that people are finding that the lack of connection that the internet, or social media specifically, has become is hollow. It's super shallow and surface level. We used to have AOL back in the day. We used to have AOL chat, late 90s, right? And you would sit there with one person, or maybe you'd have a couple tabs open, but you would be talking just like you would on an old landline phone with one person for hours. And you'd be having a conversation, you'd be typing away. And at one point, the internet recalibrated itself to that system, that machine. And it became consumerism. It became consumer culture. And the internet really began losing value in the connection area, the area that truly matters, which is connection, human interaction and human connection. It became transactionary. It became about selling. It became about more production, more sales, more views, more likes. Who gives a shit how many likes this is? Who cares how many views this is? Who cares how many comments there are? If one person on the other line or the other side of this video was engaged, that's what truly matters. It's about human connection. And so the value has decreased, not increased, with the more and more activity. It's that algorithm has influenced the internet to turn around and engage with the algorithm, opposed to the algorithm having to mold itself to the internet or to the human connection. And so I think that's just where we're finding ourselves, period, macro, large scale, is that as human beings, we have become the most disconnected with our world, with each other, and with ourselves, and really disconnected with God than we've ever been. And I think that is what is driving people to this discovery, this major discovery. And my last point of all those five, I shared just point one, but the last point of all those five is that there is I put it out there at the end of the writing, is that I have a prophetic kind of vision, this prophetic observation, that is what human beings, we are all seeking out right now. And if you haven't yet, maybe that's on your timeline and arc still, but we are coming around again to this romanticism era. For the academics out there, we had the Age of Enlightenment in the 18th century, the American Revolution era, French Revolution era, this idea of romanticism, this nature and connection. They didn't really value God, but whatever. But then it went back into the industrial age and industrial production, whatever, this time of materialism, and we lost that. I think we're cycling back around to that because we don't feel connected. But we are pressing back into the thing of value, because people they intuitively know that there's no value, and so they're seeking value. in those 4 key areas. They're seeking that value. They're pushing back in, and we're coming around to this era. It's a romanticism 2.0 era, and it will include God. It already is. Culturally, you can see this around the world where people are pressing into a relationship with God. But we're going to see that wrapped up in it. That's one part of all of this, is that it's baked into this cake of romanticism 2.0. Or, like I heard on this other podcast, this guy said the slow life revolution. It's and that could be the call of it as well. It's a life of presence and connection. And you don't get that when you're going 1,000 miles an hour forward, or you're producing. Time is lack. More. You don't have that. And so I share that story in there in the Summer of Leisure. I share those points. They're baked into the story. The 5 major points: success does not equal fulfillment, the cultural conflict between art and productivity, or the productivity culture, the go, produce, hustle culture, consumerism, capitalism culture, whatever you want to call it. Put a name on it, that's what it is. But the power of slowing down, the summer of leisure that I'm in, and the discovery of it. It's the power of leisure and stillness and presence. And that's leading us, all of us, into that spiritual awakening. It's an existential thing. And then it wraps up with that prophetic call. It's a prophetic vision of seeing how we're re-entering that. And there's reflections of it all over. It's great. Like the recent thing I saw, it was like, they call them dumb phones. Like Gen Z and these younger kids are like all about the dumb phones. They want those old like Nokia like brick cell phones that I used to have, or the old school flip phone that all it's got is the numbers and you're just calling or texting people. There is no apps, there is no internet on it at all. A lot of people in my generation, the Gen X generation, they are kind of leaning into landlines again, and they want connection. There was a Substack article or a story where this woman shared her son and a photo of her son sitting back, laying on the couch with a landline, and she was talking about the relationship that he has with his grandma. And he would just sit there and talk with his grandma on the landline, hearing stories, being truly, truly connected. So that's cool. Like Gen X, that's what we know, because we knew a time before this massive internet consumerism, transactionary, shallow culture. And so Gen X is pushing back to what they knew, landlines. Gen Z is pushing back to the early of what they knew, dumb phones, the brick phones, right? The brick cell phones. And so I think you're gonna keep seeing more of this. This is a massive reality that we all can't hide from. And so with that, I just want to personally extend my own debt of gratitude to you, the viewer, if you've made it this far, or the 4 people so far that I've got on my Substack as subscribers, right? Like I genuinely appreciate that engagement, because I have, in my last video, talked about reorganizing my involvement, my effort, my engagement, my usage of online activity. It's the framework, what I value, isn't in alignment with the algorithm, and that's all right. Because I'm not going to bend to the will of the algorithm. I want the algorithm to bend to the will of me, and the more we do it, the more it will. But if it doesn't, who cares? I've still connected with 8 of you, or whatever. And as long as it's meaningful, that's what truly matters in the end. It's crazy how we've gotten to this place where it's like, oh yeah, I got 30,000 views. It's not that much. 30,000 views, that's a medieval city. Like, oh, I've got nothing, 2,000 views. I've done a painting in a high school gymnasium with 2,000 screaming kids. That's a lot of freaking people. That's a lot of people. 2,000? What? And then we totally dismiss, like, oh, this thing only got 30 views. Only 30? You are in a large room. You could be in a hall, and those 30 people, they're sitting there intently paying attention to what you have to say. That's huge. That's huge. In a conversation, like just, somewhere you generally only have one. And that's incredibly meaningful, or 2 or 3 people are engaged in a conversation. To have 30 is profound. 2,000, that's a massive level of influence. 30,000 is insanity. But when we get up into the millions, like, do we really care anymore? Because again, the machine, the more you do, the less value it is. It's the diminishing returns. And so I am truly grateful for those who are actually engaging in this longer form, organic form, connection-based form of what I'm doing right now. And I hope to grow that. I honestly hope it doesn't become viral. It's like my greatest fear at this point, but whatever the point, if we can engage in something meaningful, that's what matters. And so leave a comment, engage with the Substack. I got the links below. Whatever form of engagement, connection that you feel like engaging with me on, I'm excited to have you. I'm grateful to have you. I appreciate you checking out the video, hanging out, and make sure you subscribe. I've got like 40 some subscribers right now. Apparently when you hit 50, you can do live YouTube. Sounds pretty cool. I would like to do that on a regular rhythm, things like this. Regular rhythm, live at a certain time, kind of like a show. That would be sick. So go ahead and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Like the video if you can. And yeah, hit the links below. Hit all the other stuff. Check out some of the work. And we'll be talking to you soon. Love y'all. We're out.